What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the House of Holocrons and to episode 74 of the House of Holocrons podcast. Here on the Dex Download channel, we are happy you are back with us this week, as of course it is the amazing Acolyte week. It was the time when the Acolyte has finally dropped, and we are going to get ready to talk about the dummies who review things out of context just because they hate it. We're going to talk about how amazing the show was. We're going to talk about things that might have been either questioned or things that were just super cool and we want to spew over. The big thing, though, for announcements beforehand is not too much coming out so far. We have one announcement from Hasbro saying June 7th, I believe at 11, they will be doing their live stream event for a HasLab. From the leaks, of course, that is the Cantina. We don't know what extras it'll be coming with, so this will be the full reveal of the Cantina HasLab and everything coming out with it. And we have two Black Series announcements. Sadly, both exclusives. A 2-pack Shriek male and female, Target exclusive, and a Walmart exclusive Shriek single Mandalorian. Awesome figures, reuses from here and there with a little extra armor and detailing done to them. Really cool figures, but then being Target and Walmart exclusives always puts a little bit more of a hamper on it because it's very hard to tell with those Target and Walmart exclusives if they're going to immediately sell out or if they're going to be available in store and how much is going to be available in store. Sadly, my recent Walmart, or my closest Walmart, has gone through a really bad phase lately where they have not gotten a single new TVC or Black Series from these new waves that have been dropping into stores. They pretty much got that new Vader and the Mines of Mandalore Din, and they stopped. They haven't gotten a new TVC on their shelf in like easily 5 months. And I've been really trying to get my hands on Grogu, Din Djarin, Mines of Mandalore, and that Fleet Commander, but it's not going to happen, I guess.
It seems to be standard with Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
Mine started just now getting stuff that came out months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the newer stuff that should have been released, which I showed you, and most of them are because they're starting to do some re-release of
Mm-hmm.
older stuff.
Well, I guess
I like
that was a pretty big one. Hunter and Crosshair, and then Dr. Aphra got real release. Crosshair already sold out on most sites.
Yeah, that Crosshair, I don't remember being out for sale very long.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah,
I
season
remember
one.
seeing the Imperial
Mm-hmm.
Crosshair pretty. I remember seeing that one a lot, but not the original Crosshair.
Yeah, season one, Hunter and Crosshair were probably two of the rarest figures from that line. So I'm happy they're getting a re-release. Anything to stop scalpers, I'm always here for. I don't care that they lose value for me because, as you can tell, they're still on that shelf right there, just hanging out.
Yeah, yeah. Always collecting for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get into doing value, it's just you
Yeah, you lose
lose
the
the fun
joy.
in collecting. I collect things because I like how they look.
Mm-hmm.
I don't collect them because of their value.
Yep.
Because you end up just being the mind of a reseller, and I'm not
Yeah,
holding something for a future value worth.
especially in something like Star Wars, which I mean, eventually
Yeah.
the bubble will bop. Like eventually, this will all kind of just go into the ether. I hope it doesn't happen in my lifetime, but eventually they're gonna stop doing Star Wars stuff. Like I would love to say that this is the immortal franchise that will last forever and ever, but I mean that's the same thing people thought about like Star Trek, and it's had its waves. Same thing people thought about Fireflies, about Doctor Who. It has its waves. They come, they go. But with something like this, it's I feel like these big icons of media like Star Wars, now like Fortnite, now like these things that are just everywhere all the time. It'll help keep them alive, but it everything has a finite point. People are gonna forget about certain things eventually. I mean, how many people really have no idea who Boba Fett is if they didn't watch the book of Boba Fett, but they watched the sequels? Like he's not talked about in the sequels, so they don't know much about him if they
Yeah,
were raised on that.
I think once our generation is kind of out of it, I think it will definitely die because we still have hardcore fans out of our generation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I know the newer generation isn't sticking to it as well. And I know we're losing less dedicated fans
Mm-hmm.
with the Disney releases.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's always gonna be that hardcore fan group, but I don't see this upcoming generation. It's a smaller. I mean, there's still always new Star Wars fans, but
Yeah.
not as the same number as there are as like when we were
It's
growing up.
hard to
So
latch onto something and create that big of a fandom when someone's used to having everything all the time whenever when it comes to entertainment.
yeah,
So,
and the, the way the new generations are looking at things, they're not kind of fandoming as
mhm.
well. They like certain things are different.
I'll say this though
With
with
the
like
live streams and the
with
quick videos and the
just Twitter and things like that. A lot of these newer generations, their fandoms aren't for the entire thing. It's for like one very minute small character, and then they'll just die for him.
well, it's
They
either
they
that or
they're
they
they're
switch quite a bit to
mhm.
something different. They don't consistently stick with it, and like I said, there's a lot more I see because they they really latch on to the live streaming more than anything.
Yeah. So it's gonna be fun though. We still got so many things planned out,
Yeah,
pretty much till like 2030. I would highly doubt Star Wars doesn't have a 2030 kind of like game plan. Um,
yeah,
it's good.
Disney's in it for the long run for
Yeah,
sure. I mean,
exactly.
they built several parks and they're building
Hmm.
another park, so they're
But
not.
Marvel fell off pretty quickly. I didn't expect Marvel to fall off as fast as it did. Pretty much after Endgame, it kind of got the fandom menace treatment, where like people would just start bitching about stuff because they didn't like it, instead of the whole like She-Hulk suffered a lot like Book of Boba Fett did, just because it wasn't the brutal like.
Yeah.
I literally had this conversation
Well,
today with someone. I went to a local store, and the guy was telling me like he hated Book of Boba Fett because he wanted John Wick with space armor. I'm like, well, that's cool that you wanted that, but that's not what that was supposed to be. It was never meant to be John Wick in space.
Well, and the problem with Marvel, and we've seen so much fan die off,
Mm-hmm.
is most of those fans jumped on for the Avenger movies,
Mm-hmm.
and they were never like a previous comic book fan.
Yeah.
Most of them, if they liked anything Marvel, it was the Spider-Man movies before that.
Yeah, which yeah, that does
And
suck. And it's a really great point because I thought Miss Marvel was fun. I thought it was actually a really fun series. I liked She-Hulk, but I feel like a lot of people wanted to review bomb it, which of
I
course they're
think
also trying to do with Acolyte now.
I think She-Hulk would have been a lot better as a movie, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I think the series was drawn out way too long.
Mm.
Because it's like a lawyer series, and they like
Yeah.
she wants to be a lawyer. I mean, well, I know we're turning this Marvel review, but yeah, it's like you with Hulk type character, it's got to be a lot of action. It's got to be there's not a lot. I know they wanted to add in death as their character, but you're not. It really kind of hurt itself by doing that
Which
because
is
the people that
yeah.
want to
When you
watch
watch
that
Hulk,
kind of
yeah,
stuff aren't gonna want to watch a Marvel movies. They want to watch a drama.
yeah.
They're not gonna go. They're not gonna attach themselves to a
It's a
green
hard thing to attempt
character.
to mix the rom-com audience and the action audience, and it's kind of like with the sequels to me. Had they stuck with one idea through the whole thing, it will always be more coherent. Like you got to really, these writer rooms I think suffered a lot. There was the strikes of course after, but this kind of came a little bit before. And the big thing is just like these writers have to stay cohesive and they have to stay on point. And as long as they're all working towards one goal, I think that helps a lot. When you just open it up and they're like, all right, well, Endgame is over, Infinity Wars is over,
Yeah.
figure it out. Like, hold on, that's too much freedom for a lot of these people. They don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, I think they forget their biggest strength, which was the movies,
Mm-hmm.
and they I guess this is like we had to put too much money into some of these movies, and the new Marvel movies flopped, so let's
Mm-hmm.
do a show,
It's weird how Star
they're not
Wars
getting as
is,
much.
yeah, Star Wars is one of the few that has had this success recently with being able to stop being a film powerhouse and going to these movies or the shows. These shows have added more of these new
Let's
fans. Like Mandalorian added more new fans than any other thing.
it's knowing your audience
Mm-hmm.
is a big part of it. Um, and much as you want to say with the idea of She-Hulk being a character,
Mm-hmm.
you know your hardcore Marvel fans are not going to be um, your typical person. They're going to be people that will watch She-Hulk.
Yeah.
It's you might kind of gear towards more of a woman type vibe, or like the drama thing. But you gotta realize the guys, the people who are like She-Hulk are the really hardcore comic nerds. Because most of these common people like that are just got into it for some of the Marvel movies
Hmm.
don't know who She-Hulk is.
How much long
The
history
same
she
thing with
has, and yeah, exactly.
Echo and some of the others. I get
Hmm.
where they're coming from, but most people will see these names like, "Who is this character? I've never heard of him. I'm not watching it." And that's
Yeah.
the truth. It's like I said, if there's like, well, yeah, it's a rom-com. It's a kind of this, I think Law and Order kind of
Hmm.
vibe to it because it's a lawyer. Like, why don't I just watch Law and Order? It's
Yeah.
like a good show. I'm already familiar with. Why would I switch?
Which is
So
kind of the same thing that I feel like Acolyte will suffer from is you get the same thing where you get people who are like, well, what do you mean it's like a murder mystery who done it slash Star Wars? No, I just want, Slave
honestly,
Leia and huts and starships and explosions,
yeah.
but
It's not too much of that, really. I was expecting more of that, but more it's just really kind of this like a kind of action thriller
mhm,
with a little bit of drama. It's more of a thriller than anything,
yeah.
really.
And I'm
And
excited to
yeah,
see where the rest of these episodes go because yes, these first two episodes really gave it a vibe of a mystery to be solved, but like this action mystery and a thriller, very like what's going to happen around each
yeah,
corner, and that is really awesome again to know that we don't know what's going to happen around every corner. But so many people are like, yeah, well, what do you mean Luke Skywalker's not in it? Well, where's Palpatine? He should be the bad guy, right? It's like people who
yeah.
want to complain about, oh, what do you mean Palpatine returned? But then they're like, well, where's Palpatine in the Acolyte? Excuse me,
Oh, it's either
excuse
that
me.
or they're looking for Darth Tenebrous,
Yeah.
and the thing is, it's like I said, you got to know your audience. If you're going to do these more obscure timelines and more
Hmm.
obscure characters, which is great, you gotta first go for those audiences that are familiar with it because that's where you're gonna draw on your early numbers.
Yeah, and I feel
People
like if nothing
realize,
else,
and it's
Project Lumination or Luminous, which was the High Republic's project, that was
yeah,
a good way to tip their toes into a water of a new era and see how many people like it. If you can make a book following, then the show should do a little. The show should have a better premise because I feel like if people really like books, a lot of people
yeah,
will watch the book rendition show versus read the book.
and that's where you're gonna get most of your viewers from the show
Hmm.
initially is for the book people because it's like I'm familiar with the High Republic. I like it. I
Hmm.
read the books. I'm gonna want to watch the show, and so if you can appease that crowd, then you're gonna get the numbers.
Hmm.
It's gonna go word of mouth, and then it's gonna pick up from there. You're not gonna have that instant. We kind of lucked out with the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
Um,
and it also had Baby Grogu, so it had something for
yeah.
anyone who didn't know a damn thing about Star Wars to attach to.
Well, and then that, and there was a lot of marketing with centered around Grogu because he was
Yep.
very marketable.
Yeah.
There isn't anything really marketable around this series, sadly. Not as easy as it was for
So,
Grogu.
without talking about the show itself, though, did you feel like these Jedi did a good job kind of embodying that vibe of the High Republic books? Like, I think these
Yeah.
these Jedi felt
Um,
different in a cool way.
I felt like it really did remind me of the High Republic quite a
Hmm.
bit. With the Jedi, there was a lot of things I was happy with. There was a
Hmm.
couple things that kind of drew me out of it.
Yeah.
Um, Kind of disbelief stuff, and we can cover that at the end, or if we
Yeah.
can cover that now. Um, like one of my biggest dislikes, and this is again me being picky.
You're right. When you
Was
have
the
so much amazing Star Wars, we're just nitpicking at the
yeah.
little hairs coming off of it.
Well, and it also has to do with my background,
Hmm.
knowledge of being around medically around people
Yeah.
and seeing injuries and seeing people survive and die in different scenarios, which you might be seeing where I'm going with this, that a kunai to the chest isn't going to kill you instantly. How she got just stabbed and it wasn't even fully in. Even if it does, the blade's
Right.
not long enough that it's not gonna pierce your heart, and even if it does pierce your heart, you don't fall over and die instantly. Um, but yeah, she could actually survive that. Maybe we'll
And again,
return with that. Oh wait, no, they told everybody she's dead. Never mind.
we've
They can't
seen
have.
people get stabbed with a
Yeah.
lightsaber.
Well, that was my next thing is like
But what
people
happened?
got stabbed, gut stabs, which are very hard to recover from. I'm
Oh,
talking about
yeah.
you're more likely to get stabbed in the chest and survive than you are in the gut.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy thing. And it was like that deep, which where it was located, I mean that's maybe a lung, and then you
Yeah.
just gotta, I mean she's gonna be gasping for air. You just gotta poke another hole in the chest and you're good. Or just leave the knife in there and you should be good too.
Yeah. No, that one was definitely a scene. I was like, that killed her. She
Yeah, that
died.
I was like,
Wow,
at
I didn't
least
expect her to die this early.
yeah, that's like the whole fantasy ninja thing that like they threw
Mm-hmm.
the like the Naruto thing that the little kunai and
Yeah.
like people unless you dip them poison, but she doesn't deal with poison until the next thing, so it's like we'll rule that out because like
Yeah.
but that other than that, I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I wasn't on the edge of my seat,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I don't think you were meant to just yet.
It was
Maybe
setup. It was a
we'll
very
get to
good
that.
setup. It got you ready for where the story's about to like explode off, I think,
Yeah,
because I enjoy the fact they introduced all the characters really well and they felt like they had enough screen time to establish their
yeah.
character. With May versus OSHA, which I love that she's named. I know it's Asha, but her name is spelled OSHA. That's all I think when I see it. I'm like, oh, the occupational safeties and hazards. Or
Oh yeah, the big spoiler that I mean, it
So yeah,
kind of is
spoilers,
obvious.
spoilers, spoilers, spoilers.
Yep.
I didn't know where this was going. I'm happy it went here. Twins. Whoa. We have a light side twin and a dark side twin. I'm okay with this. I think this is fun. I like this duality thing. And we find out May, the assassin, is the acolyte, this dark sider learning from some ancient Sith master or something with a red lightsaber.
We
While
got to
as
see earlier than I expected. First
very much
episode.
so, yeah, exactly. I did not expect to see that red lightsaber that early.
Not well, but we get to see him.
But good enough. We got to see him briefly enough and him talking about his views on how the Jedi feel and how they view things. And it set up enough for us to be like, oh, this guy's cool. Like, I like the way they're kind of just slowly leaking this guy out, but
This
already
is what they.
starting.
This is what I want to do with Kylo Ren,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a great. It's like I said with Darth Vader. Um, we get this like impactful. The only difference is we didn't get well, we did, but his was like boom in your face.
Yeah.
This is he's powerful, and then the rest was like very little
Mm-hmm.
mystical, like little bits. And this is what it should be. It doesn't need to be immediately know everything about the character, the
Yeah.
mask rip off, kill the first attachment that he has to the rest of the story immediately off. It's yeah, they introduced them very vaguely at the very beginning. It's
Mm-hmm.
either do that or do like I said, the grandiose. Like he comes in, he is powerful, he is
Right.
destroying.
So this way, at
But
least we
we,
know we're gonna get this like these little excerpts from him. Like he's gonna be just slowly
yeah,
guiding May for the first few episodes
we do
until
kind
yeah,
of get that
eventually it
with
pops off.
with May a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So we do get her kind of showing it in a way that's kind of the Darth Vader entrance with
Yeah.
her. Though we get her kind of weaker, which she should be when she's fighting a master. So
Mm-hmm.
that's good. I'm glad they did that. They kind of explained how she defeated the master in a
Yeah.
fight. They of course we learn that they let their guard down because they're familiar with who she is
Yep.
and she should be dead. So they're kind of confused and they're thrown off, and it brings back all these memories of something devastating. So it really throws them off their connection to the Force, and then also she was playing dirty, which
Which she did
they're
exactly
not
which yeah. The only
they're
way she
not
was gonna
used to.
win.
Let's do, and that's also how from the books how the Jedi were losing is
Yeah.
because they were playing dirty, and so
They
I
were
mean
using the
that's
fact so the big thing that I love is when a Jedi has to decide are they gonna be the Jedi that saves themselves to continue the fight, or
yeah.
are they gonna save the one innocent? And a true Jedi should always choose to save the innocent.
Well,
And
Master would be
so
able to do both, but the fact
yeah,
that the previous part where
it's
she's
thrown
supposed
off, yeah.
this get death and then
Wait a
instantly you're
minute.
flooded with the horrific deaths
Mm-hmm.
of the tragedy that happened prior. So all this stuff's coming in your mind, throwing you off the light side of the Force. So that part makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
which is good writing there, I thought.
Yeah.
Um, Personally, um, the twin thing I think is a little cheap, but I mean, Star Wars has always been cheesy, so
Yeah.
it's fine. I think it would be really cool, which I at first thought was like the twin thing just seems so cheap and easy to do because I instantly it kicked, and my wife says that it's a totally different person. Even though it's the same actress, but
Yeah.
she does it well. You can tell two different people.
Yeah.
I think would be really interesting, and it kind of hint that because she said she was on leave. I think would be cool is her sister's um, spirit lived on through the dark side, and she actually has both sides, so kind of a
Oh
duality.
yeah.
It would flip, like her sister would take over her
Multiple
body.
personality almost.
Yeah, I think that would be really really cool fact. I think that would be, but that might be a little too complex for the
Mm-hmm.
general audience. So
But I like the fact that, like, at first we are like, okay, May's the assassin, but also she's supposed to be the one who is the, like, Padawan. Like, no, now we find out that it's the sister that's the Padawan. They thought May was dead for, like, ever because of some horrible fire. So now we have this light side person versus her exact opposite, which is still herself, but dark side. Because they had that cool moment where they pretty much have a conversation in the Force as kids. And she's like, "Did you do it?" And May's like, "Yeah, I did it. I'm going to keep doing it too." And that's what I like about May. May's conviction is like, "No, I just got to kill these guys." And her whole thing is she has to kill a Jedi without a weapon. That's apparently the task that has been brought upon her by her Sith overlord until to make her an acolyte is for her to kill a Jedi without a weapon.
yeah, and it's a, I think it's a just a trial, but also it's also a mental thing for the
Mm-hmm.
Jedi to know that a Jedi, especially a Jedi Knight or Jedi Master, could fall. Because at this point they are still, because we can see that. I thought they might be somewhat less full of themselves, but they still are full of themselves.
Yeah.
But they basically think they can stop. They're invincible
Mm-hmm.
essentially, and so the whole idea is to kind of break that illusion
Yeah.
that, the whole mental's like, maybe I do need to be. And so, and it kind of messes with their mind when they start going to calls. They're going to be more off on guard.
Yeah.
You kind of see that with modern day police, where when they're more on edge about,
Mm-hmm.
they're not invincible anymore, so they're more reactive and they're more
Yeah.
jumpy about things, and you
And
get these.
that's the
So
exact person
yeah,
that I would call Yord. I love Yord. His Padawan, getting to see a Zygerian Jedi, that was dope to see. The alien species in this are cool, really
yeah,
cool.
they
There's a
they really
cyborg
did.
guy that has like
Now,
the only thing
yeah,
left on him is like the top of his head, and that guy looked disgusting, but I loved it.
there's very little human. I think most of
Mm-hmm.
the humans are main characters, and it's probably just for the acting reasons.
Yeah.
But everybody in the background's all alien, pretty much.
Huge shout out too to the Master Soul and the guy who plays him, because for knowing no English, he's doing really good. He's doing really good conveying like emotion, and just when he smiles at Osha and stuff, I'm just like, wow, he really cares for her. Like, man, he does a good job of acting like a Jedi. But Yord, man, Yord is exactly that guy. He's the cop who's too
Yeah,
amped up and shouldn't be on the Force anymore because he's scared at everything. He always whips his lightsaber out when he can because he's a new Jedi Knight, and he's like, I'm gonna prove that I'm strong to the galaxy.
yeah. He's got something to prove for
He's
sure.
he's totally going to be the problem or the first guy who dies to the Sith. I am calling it
Yeah,
now.
his whole idea is, and the idea of the writing for that character design is he's supposed to be the counterpart to, um, the Padawan, the white skin, I think the
Oh,
mixed species.
yeah, Daphne Keen's character. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't remember her character's name off it. They're
can't believe I
supposed
just
to be
forgot
kind
that
of.
name. Yeah,
The idea was, she's less experienced, but she's more level-headed. While he's more experienced, but he's more on edge and more. Well, she thinks things through, and while he just
okay,
rushes
yeah,
in. No.
Jeckie Lawn. Yeah, Jeckie.
Though it is a cheap writing technique to
Mm-hmm.
keep that going, I hope we see with that character, which fleshes her out more, that her wanting to stop and think
Yeah.
gets her in trouble. Not always, but it shouldn't always be this kind of gag where he's running in and then
Mm-hmm.
ruins everything. Where she and her ability, her wanting to like think things out. It's like, hey, I'm gonna go on the ship so we get an aerial view, and
Yeah.
that's smart. A lot of us thinking very tactically. Maybe gets a little over her head, and
Yeah.
that to me
Separated from
made
the
it like,
group, and yeah.
this is thinking from a writer's perspective. I hope we don't get it that way because that's very one dimensional. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's very Star Wars. A lot of Star Wars is one dimensional, but if
The
we
thing I
could
like
see
about
that,
Yord though is if Yord, I want Yord to continue exactly who he is, mainly
yeah.
because he is the Jedi that lead to the fall of the Jedi. He is like the
But
first Jedi who is going to become the problem.
it's not. I wouldn't say not necessarily. You do need those guys in this. You need both people. You need the person
Mm-hmm.
to keep those guys in line, but you also need that person to get the ball rolling. For
Now,
instance,
Yord is the guy who
he's
becomes the bootlicker of the Republic. He's the guy who will
he
do what the Senate
yeah.
asks.
Well, not necessarily the bootlicker part, but the idea of to kind of run in and to
Mm-hmm.
get the job done, and to put somebody, because sometimes you got to put the handcuffs on them, regardless
Yeah.
of emotions. You gotta watch. You gotta put guard on them, regardless of what you think. Sometimes, you gotta do that, and sometimes when you see that person peel off, you're gonna go right after them and follow them. That was that was a good decision. It's just some of his decisions the master's kind of getting too emotional over. So it's yeah, it's two sides of a coin. Whereas, well, they're, it's funny. Well, both Padawans, well, the knight
Mm-hmm.
and the Padawan are both really about following rules, which they should because they're lower ranked.
Yeah.
Um, because she even said, hey, she was right beside him about
Yeah. I will say
putting
though,
the cuffs and knocking him
Jackie's
out.
gonna be one to follow a bit more of the creed more though, because that's what Yoda's like whole point in most
Yeah.
of what he tells Anakin is, hey, I get that you're good at running out and stopping the bad guy, but we need you to just sit down and think more.
One thing I want to see, because we're seeing some Padawans,
Mm-hmm.
if we see more Padawans, I want to see, because we get that idea in the High Republic that the Padawans are able to have attachments and get close,
Mm-hmm.
because it's kind of the phase that they do, because it's like the kid phase, but the phase at
Yeah,
Padawan.
exactly.
So like, because we get that with the three Jedi in the first
Oh yeah,
series.
Elzar, Avar,
Yeah.
and
So
Stellan.
So they talk about how close the three of them
Mm-hmm.
were, especially Elzar and uh, the other
Avar.
Avar, how close they were, and they actually got romantically involved.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really interesting to just to dip into that, because we never see that on
Mm-hmm.
screen besides Anakin and how bad that is.
Yeah, the bad side. Let's see the good side of it, where it
And yeah,
works.
it'd be cool just to hear just yeah, it's Padawans,
Well,
like
I kind of like
sneakerhead
the way,
Padawans or whatever.
like when Osha meets Yord, and she's just like, Yord, is that you? I was like, ooh, they got history. So that would be kind of cool if they were able to talk about maybe those two had a little history, and then,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that would be really. I want to see that, because we
mm-hmm,
don't. This is a set of High Republic that is more common,
yeah,
that we don't see in the later. I think because it's cool, because that's one of the things that I liked the most about watching this
mm-hmm.
is, besides the story, to see things that I recognize from the book, like the Jedi fight, the ship,
Oh yeah,
um,
long beams and
and the
vectors,
robes,
and the robes
seeing the
were
different
awesome.
seeing the different robes, and
Mm-hmm.
trying to explain, try not to ruin it for my mom, but this is the robes are different because of this,
Yeah,
and they dress differently, and they handle the reason why there's Jedi on this planet, because they don't do that anymore.
yeah, they're literally there to help people, to like just do
Well,
the
they're stationed
mindless. Yeah.
all over the galaxy, and this is a thing they stopped doing after the High
Mm-hmm.
Republic. Um, so yeah, it's so that's cool that they have the Jedi outposts. Um, yeah, I would say I was a happy. I wouldn't say that it, like I said, I wasn't on my edge of my seat. It wasn't the best thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't bad. I mean,
Yeah.
like, if I were rated,
If
it'd probably
nothing
be
else,
an
it
8.
set things up. So when the third
Yeah,
episode comes out and they're not introducing anyone, they don't have to anymore. They've introduced all the
yeah.
people they need to introduce for now.
Yeah, it's fine. I get it. It's new to everyone,
Yeah.
especially people that aren't familiar with the novels,
Mm-hmm.
that don't want to read them or can't get to, or whatever, what have you. Yeah, it's. I think it was did pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's nowhere near the rating that people are trying to review bomb it with. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
And that's one of the big things is like, of course, a lot of you will see that the biggest review bomb states a lot of the fact of, what, fire in space? That's not accurate. I could show you
But
like 50 scenes where there's
fire in
fire in
space,
space already. You
yeah,
mean like the
there's.
lasers that are literally
There,
just like high energy?
I'm pretty
Like
sure all the movies have that.
every movie has a ship crashing into another ship and a fire.
Well, how about the sound in Star Wars?
Yeah,
There's no
exactly.
sound in
There's also
space.
shouldn't be any sound from the pew pews
The
or the
Yeah, or the
explosions.
the TIE fighter sound, that
Yeah,
shouldn't be a
that shouldn't
thing.
exist because you're in space. You can't hear it. The things they'll latch onto, like if they like it and you try to pick it apart and say stuff like that, oh man, red in the face till they can't breathe. But the second they don't like the show, that's the first thing they go to, which is why you know that it's the weakest argument ever, and they don't actually have a good argument to not like this show.
Yeah, I'm
There's
hoping they
not a
actually.
single time when I've looked at one of these people and been like, well, that should have obviously been a white guy because the acting just wasn't been that good. Dude, I love all the random aliens, all the droids. How about big buff warden droid, like a buff 3PO?
Oh, yeah.
That guy was awesome. I hope we get a Black Series figure for the big buff warden droid.
He
Or the
didn't last
pilot.
very long though.
Oh, not at all. No. The pilot droids.
Or the seats, the turn of the seats. That can't be comfortable. I mean,
Oh man, I
interesting.
love that. I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm not gonna sit in that seat. What if it randomly turns on and tries to like grab me? Screw
It's
that.
also that also is not very well thought through. You have that
Right.
many dangerous criminals, and there are no like
Not only that,
sentient person on
yeah,
board.
not
Just
only do you have
choice.
dangerous criminals on board, one of them is mostly cybernetic. And you don't think he'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
able to hack into the droids at all? That guy was cool. Again, he had like these weird little slit eyes. You can see his nose.
What about the guy that had a tentacle that shot off his head?
Yeah, that was a really
Weird.
cool alien. And I love the guy that's like tripping on the floor. Like, oh yeah, he's really violent. So they gave him this bird skin thing, and it's causing him to have
It was like a
hallucinations.
starfish thing.
Yeah, well, I just love it because she's like, "Is he in pain?" Like, "Oh no, he's having the best time of his life." Shocks
Yeah,
it off of
something-
him, and that's what this show is not. It's showing you like, hey, sometimes being the good guy is stupid. She she gets tricked by these criminals, gets out, and she's like, "Oh, I can't let the violent criminal die, even though I know he's a violent criminal. So let me get him out of here." She shocks the thing off of him. The second he wakes up, he pretty much hits her and runs off, steals the escape pod, and gets out. And she's just like, and I love it because she's sitting there like, dang it, why did I do that? Like, oh, because you feel like you have to be a good guy, and that doesn't help you all the time, does it?
Besides, you have some a little bias
Mm-hmm.
because you were excited for the show and the High Republic part. But as the show separating that
Mm-hmm.
from the show itself, you just put it in its own bubble. How would you rate it?
I would give episode 1 like a 8.5 because I really like the premise and setup of it. For setting up the entire world in episode 1, it did it marvelously, and it gets immediately to the plot and lets you know. They could have easily tried to save this whole twin thing for like episode 5, and it would have been some big reveal that wouldn't have been cool. No, they didn't do
Yeah,
that.
it would have been very disappointing
Yeah,
if they held on
exactly.
to that.
So they just immediately got that out of the way. I'm happy about that. I think these are really good writers. Episode 2, I'd give maybe like a 6.57. They were both really good, and I love the writing in them. And they're just doing this hard job of setting up the High Republic, setting up a lot of aliens, setting up a lot of different backstory and premise without giving anything away. So I overall loved it. Overall to both episodes, easily a 7.5 for me. No problem. I can give it 7.58 happily because it was well written. They didn't stick on one thing too long. I never felt like a story beat dragged on. I never felt like information was unnecessary. They were very concise in what they gave us.
I think getting out of the volume really helped because
Mhm.
they're able to transition to
Oh,
multiple places.
the
And it
cities looked so cool. Like I loved the architecture of that first place she went and how like everything was like
Yeah.
all like wide pyramids and then 2 bases. The planets and the scenery look phenomenal.
Yeah, I thought the show was pretty well. I didn't have any issues with it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty solid 8 for sure. Um, the second one, I didn't think I think I didn't have I think I'd put 8 for both of them, to be
Yeah.
honest. I think the second one is just as good.
Mhm.
I mean, you don't get as much action as you do in the first one, but I mean, not everything has to be action.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the
and
best thing
that's
is the shirtless Yord joke. They just walk in on shirtless Yord changing, and they're just like, "Hey, get some clothes on."
Well, it's funny because right before that, she's like, who's coming? He's like, or it's just something about Yord's coming
Aw.
along, and she like says, he goes, what's
Yeah,
wrong with Yord? And he's like, he's Yord.
he's Yord. I
And
love
then
it.
she goes in there and he's shirtless. She's just like, put your shirt on,
Yeah.
get dressed. But the worst part about it, because I've seen her in some other
Mhm.
stuff, and I watched which wasn't very good series, the the Golden Compass series where she's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it kind of went downhill. But I watched her in that, and she's not much older than when she was in that, and so I just hear that character because she does her voice is the same.
Yeah.
So it's like it drives me crazy because I hear her voice. I'm like,
Last I saw her was X2, so I'm down.
and I don't have a problem with her or anything. It's
Yeah,
just
I
I
know.
just keep thinking of that show. I forced myself to watch because I watched the first season, which was
Mm-hmm.
decent, but anyways, but yeah, it was yeah, I don't think it's worth review bombing.
And the casting
Um
choices for the cast so far, like I said, with Master
yeah.
Soul, with Vernestra Rowe, they all do a really good job of capturing this persona of Jedi, persona of,
So far how they did both characters with Osha and May, I got the character names right. Osha and May or
yeah, yeah,
Asha.
Asha and May, yeah.
Um I don't think there's anything about them that are I think the characters are pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with either of them. Um Sometimes Asha can be a little ditzy.
Yeah.
She's going for the good looking good a little too far. There's a couple like things that's like, okay. But it's not bad.
Yeah.
I'll say it's better writing for a young female character we've gotten lately.
Yeah.
Um like, like young Leia,
Mm-hmm.
great actress but bad writing. She acted her heart out of that role. Uh So yeah, and then we have so we had with Obi-Wan's another young female,
Mm-hmm.
and that character was also poorly written, and almost it's like they wrote her for you to hate her, and then all of a sudden wanted you to love her
Mm-hmm.
without giving you any context to build on it. So it feels like we are starting to get context to actually start to like Osha right away, and even May, we have a reason that
Mm-hmm.
we want to invest in, and it's
Yeah.
just now starting. They're giving us enough context and then building enough on her
Yes.
that it doesn't feel forced.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel yeah. It just feels she seems like we're building a good rapport for this character, which is great. It's what
Yes.
I wanted. And good written characters that we have that are female, um, are well liked within the. So not every Star Wars fan is sexist.
Yeah.
I can name many Star Wars females that are great characters. So I think we're going that route. Hopefully, we can prove the general census wrong that all Star Wars fans are sexist. Um,
Yeah. Shows like this are going to really help with that because they bring about this power, and never once
yeah.
has this been like, I'm a woman, watch me do this. May does not care that she was born with a certain different chromosome that made her a different sex, that made her a different thing. She does not care. She doesn't. She
Well,
is 100%
the
just out
biggest
there
thing,
to do what she apparent, which I don't
yeah.
know why she hates the Jedi so much. Like, I don't know if they're gonna somehow blame her. Like, we still got to get into that of what
I think
happened, where they were like separated, because obviously that's gonna be
yeah.
a traumatic thing.
There's more to what happened because she blames the Jedi for her family.
And is
I'm
going after a
assuming,
specific set of them.
and they, especially the second Jedi we see, they seem like there's more than just them saving the one girl and letting the
Mm-hmm.
other one die. There's more than what we know of because she says drink the poison to forget for your forgiveness and to overcome your guilt. He's barely been meditating for 10 years because of the guilt
Yeah.
for that situation. So there's something happened
Yeah.
that so well, I'm guessing it's gonna unravel. We're gonna find out
And
they
it
did
might be the
something.
reason why Kelnaka is like on some planet all by himself, because that's the next thing. They kind of hint at like, well, if you can't
Yeah.
deal with this meditating Jedi, you're not gonna have fun fighting a Wookiee. So I'm like, oh, so I guess the next one's gonna be Kelnaka.
Yeah, and he's kind of almost banished himself in a way because
So yeah,
he's living by
something
himself now.
something really bad happened on this planet with May and Asha's family and tribe or whatever they are.
Yeah,
So
and it seems like they just kind of covered it up.
yeah.
Um, and for her, and almost like her master wasn't aware of it either because he seems like he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
know either. I don't know. I think the
What
best
what
thing that
definitely
I
happens with as this
uh,
continues is that's going to be a big
yeah,
reveal there, and this is exciting. This is going to lead to,
yeah.
like, why is May dark? What led her down the dark side? What led her to this Sith Lord to where she could be an acolyte for him one day? Hopefully, like this is going to set off things really
Yeah.
well.
I think the thing that I liked the most about May,
Hmm.
which I'm assuming this is the Acolyte. This is the name of
Yeah.
the show. That really sticks out to me the most is they make her strong, but they also show her kind of where she stands.
Hmm.
And lately, we've had some of these shows where they don't do that properly, where she kicks ass when she needs to, but when it comes to somebody like a Jedi Master
Yeah.
or a
Right.
Jedi Knight, she's not going beyond odds. She's failing. She actually drops the dagger.
Yeah.
She does something silly, but she's clever enough. She can figure something out, or it runs into a brick wall essentially with the one Jedi Master, and I really like that aspect. I
Yeah.
really like, and she's an acolyte. She should be. She's an apprentice. She shouldn't be master level at this time.
You're right. Right.
And that was one thing a little bit iffy with Shin, was she was a awesome character, but
Hmm.
she was really powerful, probably
Yeah.
too powerful what she should be for her level. But that's fine. Um, I overlooked it because it was an awesome character. Um, but at this point, I think that really does it justice by
Hmm.
she can kill a master, but there's like she's got to be kind of
Caveats.
lucky.
Yeah, she has to be lucky. She has to be underhanded. She has to use every tool she has,
Yeah,
or else it won't work out.
there's no way she can like just waltz in the Jedi temple and just kill a Jedi,
Yeah.
a normal Jedi. This is like I said, it's if it weren't for these Jedi that knew her previously and the
Mm.
whole drama that ensued behind it, and with a little bit of quick thinking, fighting dirty, um, with that instance, and then also with the bringing up old wounds and
Yeah.
the Jedi that has something happened so bad that he's been stuck in meditation for 10 years, which I'm curious how how I guess somehow he's feeding off the force.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
You kind of like with
Um,
the bearish vow and stuff. If you connect
yeah.
good enough to the force, and that's what I liked about it. He was so connected to the force, she couldn't even touch him.
So that part was the part that that she was able to like just give him the poison and all and everything. So it's
Hmm.
yeah, it's interesting. I like that. I like that her contact, is he Sith? I mean, he seems to he knows a lot more than he should if he's
Right.
not. He's got to be part of the group too, right? But
Yeah. She has a
he's
friend
interesting.
who helps her make the poison and stuff, and I like that because it kind of gives this immediate vibe of they don't like they're coworkers, but they're not like friends at all. They're just
Well,
both trying to like
yeah.
appease this dark side guy.
He said he's just some mercenary for the Huts, but he doesn't seem like a
Yeah.
freelancer. He almost seems like he's another acolyte as well, because the way they
Hmm.
talk about the master
Yeah.
and the knowledge he has. But I like his idea. It kind of reminds me of the whole drunken master thing, where he
Hmm.
kind of plays dumb by either being drunk or high,
Hmm.
and maybe that's just his weakness. Maybe he is just always drunk and high. But it does make a cool character.
Yeah.
I would like that would be cool to have a Sith that's like the old drunken man. He's just drunk all the time.
Yeah. He always plays dumb, even though he's very much not.
Or just like I said, the whole the drunken master
Yeah.
with the movie. It's like he's goofy all the time, and so it puts on your guard,
Hmm.
and like I said, it would make sense that Sith would get drunk and high. I mean,
Yeah, they don't mind. Have
they
fun.
don't there's yeah. So that's
So
how he connects to the Force.
the
Very
higher he gets,
amazing.
the stronger he gets. Watch out. He's got death sticks. I'm very excited too because with the way the show has gone these two episodes, I have no
Yeah.
idea what's going to happen in episode 3. Is it going to immediately blow up? Is it going to be a little bit more setup stuff? I have no idea. I'm excited for it. It's going to be fun. I love the release window again. We're back to Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time for us. So I'm okay with that. That is a much easier time to try and digest something and like watch it. Don't have to worry about spoilers because we're home. I don't have to worry about like dodging it for a whole morning. It's
I will
nice.
say, at least it's not on Mandalorian popular level. The nice thing is less spoilers.
Yeah, far less because there's
Um,
just not as many people watching it.
yeah, maybe it's one of those shows that I mean, I said the same thing for Andor that maybe people jump on and they didn't. So, we'll see. I think we'll still get enough people watching it that
Yeah.
they'll like it. They'll want to do more. I do know, like the director. One of the things I like what the director said is she said there's not going to be a cliffhanger at the end of the season. I
Mm.
hope she's telling the truth because it gets old really fast, and every show you
Yeah.
watch has this major cliffhanger, and it's like you gotta wait like 3 or 4 years to see
But we
the
are
back.
getting a season two,
Yeah.
so it's then also like, okay, so are they gonna kill May and then he has to go find a new acolyte? Like, is that gonna be the like resolution with
Or
this?
or like I said, what if it's not the same timeline? What if it's
Yeah. Oh, true.
a different time, well, a different part of the timeline? It could be many different
Hey,
things.
that'd be awesome if the acolyte is literally just like filling in the gap between the High Republic and Phantom
Just like the
Menace.
Mandalorian,
Yeah.
it's not
It's not the
when they
Din
don't even
Djarin.
call her the acolyte like they
Mm-hmm.
did with Din. So
True.
they could switch up who the acolyte is.
That's actually a very good point. I like that. We just keep the show going. You got like another 3, 4 seasons before you catch up to Phantom
I'm
Menace,
fine
and
with constantly changing and having the one
mm-hmm.
centralized character.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, hey, that'd be
like
awesome because then maybe eventually, like the series ends with him finding Plagius, and that's how it ends. Like he finds a moon to become his acolyte, and then we find out he names him Plagius, and like it just ends there. We don't get Plagius' story too much.
yeah,
We don't get Palpatine whatsoever. It's just like, oh, cool, this really cool stuff, really cool
that
stuff, defeat, cool stuff, defeat.
we should go earlier in time though than for that because
Yeah.
I think 100 years is too early for that to happen.
Well, I mean, he can burn through acolytes like crazy in 100 years if they're all dying.
But yeah, if we, yeah, I think it would be good to go previous acolytes, um, and then if we want to connect it earlier down the road to a different like his master or like his acolyte, that'd be cool. Season two, it's a totally different early timeline, and then at the end of the acolyte, season two, he puts on the helmet from season one, and
Oh
so
yeah,
we get the acolyte, but it's the master and season. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So, that'd be kind of cool. That'd be a really cool reveal. You get like the whole season. This guy's cool, or it's a Jedi that turns bad, and then he at the end of the thing he puts his smiley helmet on.
right. It's gonna be. I'm excited to see his powers. I mean, I of course want to reveal just because I like a good helmet
Yeah,
reveal because if it's done right, it's awesome. But at the same time, if he doesn't, that'd be fine too. He's definitely gonna have like a power reveal probably about mid season, and that alone's gonna be really fun
yeah,
when he smacks around a bunch of Jedi. But the show is giving me a lot of hope for this writer's room that's being put together from Star Wars because they're handling story devices really well. They're not pushing things that don't need pushed. They're not, nothing fell flat. Nothing felt like I
yeah.
need something else to explain it to me. It was all very much right there and well done.
And we gotta remember that this is 8 episodes of
Mm-hmm.
30 to 45 minutes. So it's not gonna go the speed as it does in the movie because it would run out of things to do.
Yeah.
It would be just nonstop. And so you got to look at the time difference. And the cool thing about the show is you get time to breathe. You get
Mm-hmm.
time for characters and stories to develop more than they can in the movie. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And it's really hard to keep that constant, fast-paced lightsaber combat
Yeah.
that you get to see more in movies. Which it's funny that we get a lot of these fans often reference. It's like I love Jedi, I love the fighting, but you don't really see that in in A New Hope.
Yeah.
Um, we- Honestly, the original trilogy is on a lot of fighting.
There
There's a
really
lot of
isn't.
the
There's just a few big
heavy action.
moments, and it's very heavy swinging. It
I
doesn't
honestly
really.
don't get
Yeah.
that till episode three.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of these people that kind of hate this. They're big episode three fanboys. Which I get it. Episode 3 is easy to latch onto. It's a good movie.
Hmm.
But yeah, you got to remember the movies weren't always like that. They were cheesy. They had,
Yeah.
you know, they had goofy dialogue. I mean, the dialogue in the original Star Wars is actually worse than this.
I would
You
definitely
think of the
say
goofy.
a lot of people, yeah, if you don't get something new, that's how a fandom
Yeah.
dies. So just let the new things come out. And if they're not for you, move on and go rewatch Empire Strikes
There's
Back for the 72,000th
there's only
time.
so many times you can keep buying Boba Fett and Darth Vader and Luke.
Yeah, and guys, I love Boba Fett and Darth Vader, but I'm done. Like we don't have, and your ideas like of a character does not make that character that.
Yeah.
That's one of my biggest things. Like May doesn't need to be this pure evil, unredeemable person by the end of this series because she's not a Sith. We don't need this like crazy badass Sith Lord to be like burn it all and sacrifice it all and I'm gonna murder and drink blood and bathe in the souls of the innocent. Like we don't need that.
Yeah.
We also don't need these Jedi to be these beacons of purity. They also need to have flaws and stuff. You
And
not
to be
liking
honest,
it does not mean it bad. It just means you don't like it, and that's okay.
and then and the other side of things is we don't need constantly need these obscure super powerful Sith.
Hmm.
It'd be cool to have one show up, but if we constantly keep having them, we may run into the problem that Marvel had with their Avengers,
Yeah.
where they kept going so high and the stakes so high, and then it just became one in the world after the one in the world, and then it's like is it that big of a deal? And how powerful is
Hmm.
Thanos really, anyways? We just had a movie with these five heroes, and they had these titans that came out of the earth, and
Hmm.
they or all this or
The
with
Celestials, like how powerful is
yeah, the
Thanos when we have the
Celestials, like,
fucking Celestials?
that are coming out and destroying, or the we have the Time Stone, or we have the
Yeah.
Doctor Strange when he goes deals with that
Dormammu.
guy and the other Dormammu and the other dimensions. Like, is he stronger than Dormammu? Kind of not really,
Yeah.
but when he has all the stones, yes, but it's like you keep trying to
Hmm.
overshadow each movie, so it's like this big thing how important this character is.
Yeah.
Eventually you're gonna run out of you're gonna be where they're at now, where we had this big epic moment where everything came together, and then
And now you have to pull back and see
everything.
what you can do.
Well, that's the problem is, and I think the thing that's hurting the most is we roller coastered
Yeah.
and then just went so high up, high, and then we ended it at the
Hmm.
top, and then there was nothing to fall to. There's no
Right.
more up and
Exactly.
down. It was just like, because we went to this amped up moment constantly building up, and then it's like, hey, we're back to square one, to the original Hulk movie, to
Yeah.
these characters aren't as cool, and their storylines are just like they're not end of the world constantly, but it's like,
Hmm.
so it's nice that we're not getting that with Star Wars. We're not getting, the constant Darth Bane, the constant. It would be cool to see them,
Yeah.
but if we keep getting those, it'll be that situation where, like,
Right. It's like if they gave us Revan every time we asked for it,
yeah.
no one would like Revan anymore.
But you think about a lot of the Old Republic, the big Sith,
Hmm.
that we get, or even Darth Tenebris, we get him. He still would be pretty devastating. It's like
Yeah.
there's so many times the galaxy can be almost lost. And it did happen, but it was
Yeah.
spread out over time. It
Right.
wasn't all at once.
If every single Sith was a big threat, they would have found out about the Sith way sooner.
And then we get things like Andor. It's like, why even bother with Andor when we
Hmm.
got, we're at the same time Darth, whatever Sith now is about to eat up the entire galaxy. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, I don't
Yeah.
care about the Empire. I don't care. Sidious, wow, he was gonna take over the galaxy, and then what? Just rule it?
Right.
It's like, well, we got this guy over here that's he swallows up all life forms and all the the force from the planet. It's like,
Or we have this chick over here, Darth Treya, who wants to literally sever the Force from the galaxy and like destroy it.
yeah.
So, yeah, they're pretty crazy. We got Darth Sion. He can't die. He's too angry.
So it's like, yeah, and it's like you go back and it's like, you know, you can't if you keep and that was the thing with like Dragon Ball Z too.
Yeah.
They did that as well. They just like there's only if you keep going higher and higher, eventually you can't go higher anymore.
You
And
said
then when you
Cell was the perfect being. What do you mean this pink blob is supposed to be more terrifying?
and then when you want to go back to reference or you go back it's like, hey, I want to go back to what I like the
Mm-hmm.
most. It kind of gets shallow. We had fun with we ramped up. Well, they go back and it does. And the problem is you were so used to being amped up.
Yeah.
It's so boring now.
Yeah.
So we gotta kind of roller coaster it, otherwise it'll just be a boring ride.
Mm-hmm. And I also am going to say, I think one of the best things about this series is going to be the fact that no one is safe. Like,
Yeah,
we don't know who's going to make it out of this, if anyone. So that's also a really awesome thing
yeah.
to
So
have a Star
far,
Wars moment where like none of these guys could
yeah,
live through this, or all
yeah.
of
So
them, or
far,
like,
anybody on the screen we don't know
mm-hmm.
lives past the show.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's so cool to not know a hero has to survive. To not know, oh, they have to be in the next season because of so and so. So having all of that before you and still trying to say that the Acolyte is trash and it's woke and it's, Disney shill garbage, you don't actually have a good argument. And any people who say that, they're really revealing who they really are. They're just sad, angry assholes who have to shit all over everything else that anyone likes. And they don't even like it, or they'll at least say they don't like it while they watch it 5 to 6 times to try and tear it apart and find parts they don't like. And they're still only finding like these brief moments to complain about. These haters have watched the show more than me, and they don't secretly know that they actually like it because they have to hate it. That's their whole thing. And just let them be sad. Let them be sad, pathetic little life forms that live off of the darkness that they create. Hey, I'm having a good time. We're all having a good time. Star Wars is really doing amazing stuff lately, and they have really been bringing it with this amazing set of writers. And we talked last time about the money involved in these shows, and Acolyte spending a pretty penny to get out of the volume, to get out into the real streets that they make, and to let these actors really shine, and to give people the things they need to make this show really good. So I'm super excited, and it's only going to get better from here. I can 100%
Yeah,
see the Acolyte becoming an all-time favorite.
we just started. We barely hit anything good.
Mm.
The only thing I do know is I was trying to read some reviews. I do know some people that have seen the episodes ahead. Apparently, apparently something's gonna happen with the Wookiee Jedi. That is very divisive to the fandom. A lot of that's what I heard. I don't know what's
Yeah.
gonna happen. Something that happens with them that a lot of people are gonna be upset about.
Hey, if they
That
immediately kill Kelnaka, one, that'll be
I don't think.
terrifying. I know, but I'm just saying
Well,
it. But
I'm not talking about in that kind of more of a situation where the people that hate the show are gonna have something to really hate,
oh
not
yeah,
something that we're gonna hate, something they're gonna hate, like
nice.
something that's gonna be, I don't know, just not very well liked.
And that makes me happy because then I know it's going to be fun, and I get to watch. I get to take my weekly shower in hater tears as they all just complain about the dumbest shit. The more those people complain about the thing, the more I'm usually going to be like, I'll probably like it.
You know what I realized we're talking about any character could die. You know what character that could live till episode 1 that we don't hear anything of and that we should? You think Vanessa Rowe will die in this show?
She's already pretty old. I mean, yeah, she could easily have lived into the Phantom Menace time. So if she's not a master, she's not around. They never mentioned
She's not
her.
on the council.
Right. Yeah,
Did you see the
I
council?
bet she dies because that's a good point. If she's not on the council, so she either dies or leaves, and I don't think she leaves.
If she's still alive, she would have to be on the council, right?
Right.
You
Oh
would
yeah,
think.
dude. There's no way she wouldn't be on the council at that moment in time. She'd be one of the oldest Jedi. She's gone through so much,
Yeah.
fighting the Nihil, the Nameless, now whatever the Sith is, kind of thing. Like she would definitely be a council member. So yeah, she's probably not gonna have a good ending. No one is safe. The dark side rises. It's gonna be awesome.
That's
And
awesome.
hey,
I
I'm
want this to
happy
be.
we
I
now
want the
know
headline to be like the Star Wars Game of
Game of
Thrones or
Thrones. Yeah, the
whatever.
Red Wedding for Star Wars.
Because it would have definitely attract people.
Yeah. So it's been awesome. Hey, Inara's gone. That's why her lightsaber was the bloody one in the poster. Man, they took her out quick. The future of this show looks stellar and just super ominous and dark and mysterious. So
Yeah.
they've already gotten me hooked to the idea of the
No
show.
surviving gut shots.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, but guys, tell us down in the comments, what did you think of the Acolyte while you're hitting that like and subscribe button. I got a video that's hit over 10K, so make sure to check out the mall video, put your own comments in there. Let's keep building up this channel and get ourselves to 500 subs. Once I hit 450, I'll do another announcement for another giveaway. It's going to be a pretty fun giveaway, this one, so definitely check out for that one. And thank you all so much for joining. We can't wait to be able to have Acolyte talks with you every podcast while we cover all the other things that are also going to be coming out. But most of it will, of course, be Acolyte, as that's going to be the main focus of Star Wars for the next month or so, pretty much. Maybe we'll get some more Skeleton Crew news. That'd be nice, but I'm not going to hold my breath on it. Guys,
I doubt it during this.
Yeah. Have an amazing rest of your evening, and as always, may the Force serve you well.
May the Force be with you.